There is a version of this one that almost everybody has. You are driving somewhere that you maybe have driven 1,000 times, maybe like work or the store. Same route, same turns, all of that through muscle memory. And then one day, for no reason that you can explain, you decide to go to a different way. Like, not because the traffic is bad, that would be obvious. Not because you were distracted and just kind of turned. You just turned. And later you find out maybe that there was an accident on your usual road. Or maybe you ran into somebody that you needed to see. Or nothing happened at all, but the turn felt right and you took it. And part of you has been quietly thinking ever since about that. That's what we're going to be talking about today. Not any feeling in your body, not the voice that said something before you thought it, not the thought that kept coming back. This one is different. This is the one where there is nothing to point to. There is no signal. There is no process. There is no trail. There is just knowing. Already there, complete, without an explanation. Welcome to More Than We See. I'm Natalie, and I have had that moment more times than I can count. I don't even question it anymore. I just turn. But the moment I want to tell you about is a little bit different. Like a few weeks ago, I was sitting quietly. I wasn't meditating, just relaxing, not doing anything formal. I was just sitting there. And a name came to me. Not a person that I know, not someone I had been thinking about, just a name. And with it, not a feeling exactly, more like a simple, like flat knowing. This is the name of whatever watches over my house. I didn't question it. I didn't look it up. I didn't try to verify it or figure out where it came from. I just wrote it down. And it settled something, not in a big cinematic way, not with a ceremony around it, just something kind of clicked into place that I hadn't realized was loose, because I had another name for the house. I went back to whatever I was doing. No crisis of belief. No need to tell anybody. Just, oh, okay, good to know. I think more people have moments like that than ever say so out loud. Not because it doesn't happen or didn't happen, but because there's no easy box to put it in. No tidy explanation. No way to tell someone without watching their face do that thing. So people keep it to themselves. They file it under, that's weird, or I must have been tired, or I don't know what that was, so I'm just going to move on. And something real gets quietly set aside. I'm not asking you to believe what I believe. I'm asking you to notice whether you've ever had a moment like that, a knowing that arrived without a reason, that didn't ask to be explained, that just was. And I can almost guarantee that it's happened to you. On the last few episodes, we've been sitting with the different ways intuitive information arrives, like the body reacting before the mind catches up, or your voice saying something before you've had a thought that has fully formed around it. This one is different from both of those because there is no physical sensation to point to. There is no language that arrives. Nothing that you heard or nothing that you felt, just knowing something. And you don't know how you know. And what we're describing here is called claircognizance. And claircognizance is simply direct knowing. Information that arrives complete without a process that you can trace. It's one of the 4, I want to call them classic intuitive channels because we have multiple. But clairsentience is a feeling your body reacting before your mind does. We've talked about that. Clairaudience is hearing words or language that arrive before you think them. Talked about that. Clairvoyance is seeing images, impressions, or flashes. Claircognizance is knowing, pure, direct, already finished when it arrives. I think most people would call this a hunch, or good instincts, or I just had a feeling, even though it's not really a feeling at all. It's a knowing. And there is a difference because a feeling has a quality to it. It has a texture, a location in your body, something you can point to, where a knowing doesn't. It just sits there like it was already true before you noticed it. Now, and science has a frame for this, and we're going to talk through that, but when you get knowings, if you have worked through like body somatics, where you have your yes and no, sometimes a knowing can arrive where you understand it to be true. That is going to be different than the way we've talked about the body before. All right, so let's talk about how science has this framed. And I think it's worth offering both frames as we have on all of our episodes, because neither one, again, cancels the other out. And of course, we're going right back into the other lane, because researchers who study implicit knowledge, which is the things we know without knowing how we know them, have found something really kind of consistent. Experts almost in every field develop a capacity for sudden and accurate knowing that they can't fully explain, like a chess grandmaster who sees a winning move before they're consciously analyzing that board, or a firefighter who orders an evacuation 30 seconds before that floor collapses and can't tell you why exactly. Or doctors who walk into a room and they know exactly what's wrong with the patient before they've ran a test. All of those things are not guesses, and they're not like cinematic. Like, this is not dramatic. This is their nervous systems, and it's processed so much information over the years in what they do that their pattern recognition just runs below the surface. It doesn't even announce itself anymore. It just delivers the facts. And this has been a theme across our last few episodes. Our nervous system is amazing and serves us so well. And I've had moments that still make me pause in this knowing frame. Just strange enough that they've stayed with me. Like when I was in high school, we were heading to a football game. My sister, a couple of friends, we stopped somewhere beforehand, and I honestly can't even remember what we were stopping for. Probably buying like pom-poms or something equally important when you are in high school. And when we came back out to the car, the person behind us switched seats. Like they were sitting behind me, and they switched behind my sister. And not because anybody asked them to, but they just did. And when we got back out onto the street, we had made a turn in front of an oncoming car. And where she had moved from was exactly where the car had been hit. So it's interesting, like thinking through it, like what was the process? And I asked her about it because I clocked it. And she's like, I don't know, I was just getting back in the car. But she had noticed it herself. It wasn't in some huge dramatic, like, premonition way, or that she had predicted anything necessarily. It's just that she had changed seats. And I've kind of carried that moment, well, clearly, that was quite a few years ago. Not because I necessarily want to try to define it, but I think it fits this knowing without knowing in a way that makes sense. And I think once you start paying attention, you're going to begin to know and show all of these possible patterns. Like, not answers, not certainty, just patterns. There's little moments that make you wonder whether there might be more going on than you have been giving yourself credit for. So notice those moments in your life. That's one frame. Here's the other. Some of what arrives this way doesn't come from the pattern recognition at all. And I'm not sure that seat story does either. It comes from somewhere else. And call it what you want, like intuition, higher self, something beyond the personal mind. The mechanism is a little bit different, but the experience looks very much the same. Like something just lands with you, fully formed. You didn't work towards it. You didn't earn it through logic. Like all of our intuitive channels, things just land, they just arrive. And the question isn't which explanation is correct here, nervous system intuition, but the question actually is, what do you do with it? Because dismissing is the easy part. It's also the most expensive thing that you can do. And I think that's part of why this channel, this knowing channel, gets overlooked. Because of all of the intuitive experiences, this one might be the easiest to dismiss because it leaves no evidence. There is nothing to point to. There is nothing that you can prove out. No sensation in the body that helps you back it up. No words that arrive. No image that you can describe. Just something you somehow know. And the mind, which likes to know how things work and how it knows how it's working, finds that deeply uncomfortable. So it reaches a rational explanation. I must have picked it up from something subconsciously. I have driven that route so many times, my brain probably noticed something that I didn't. Or I was probably just tired. Maybe it's just a coincidence, and I still say that to myself. And sometimes those explanations are right. I'm not throwing all of that out the window, but sometimes they are not the whole story either. And the cost of explaining it away every time or refusing to count it as anything is what loses access to this channel that's been here for your whole life. We are taught from a very young age to show our work, to cite our sources, to be able to explain how we got here. And in most contexts, that's super useful. But intuition does not work that way. It doesn't show its work. It doesn't come with footnotes. And if you've been applying that same standard, prove it or it doesn't count, to every knowing that's arrived without a trail, you've been grading yourself on a rubric that has never been designed for this. Because sometimes you know something because you know it, not because you can prove it, not because you can trace the path, just because it's true. And somewhere in you, you recognize that. So let's talk a little bit about the tool for this week. I want you to just notice. I don't want you to analyze or verify anything, just like we've done the last few weeks. When something arrives and you didn't think your way to it, when you know something that you can't find reasoning behind it, don't dismiss it immediately. Don't chase it either. Don't grab the tail. Just register it. Just clock it. So let's talk about the 3 doorways to look at this. The first is going to be your simplest. When something lands, like a certainty or a knowing, a sense of something being true, I want you to pause just for a second and ask yourself one question. Did I think my way here? Not is it logical? Not can I prove this? Just did I reason my way to this? Or did it arrive? That distinction alone is really worth practicing. Most people have never separated those two things. They've been treating all knowing as the same kind of knowing. And it's not. The second doorway is written, because you know I love written. I love writing. I love journaling. But when a knowing arrives, especially one that maybe surprised you, well, any of them, write it down and date it. 1 sentence. What you knew, not why you knew it, not how, not proving it out, just what came through. And come back to it. Because claircognizance has a track record. And you can't see the track record if you're not keeping the record. And over time, you will notice whether your direct knowings tend to be accurate, whether they show up in certain contexts, like if there are certain conditions, such as being in a quiet area or still or somewhere in transition, when they arrive more easily for you. And you are building a map of your own knowing. And the third doorway is for people who process through conversation. So this I want you to tell somebody, not to convince them, not to get validation, just to say it out loud. And I want you to find somebody who isn't going to give you that face. I told our community about the house name changing. Like my house's name was one thing, and then and I'd been calling her that. I live here for almost 9 years. And I have been calling her that, and I call her there because it feels like a feminine energy. Anyway, there's a whole See, I get to share with you guys, and that's why I love podcasting. But when it came, of course, I shared with them. I want you just to find somebody that'd be like, I turned right today because I just knew it was the right way to go. And that person in your life that's not going to look at you and be like, okay, how'd you know that? Like, what did you do? I mean, unless they're kind of in that same opening your intuitive channels where maybe they're going to help you discover a little bit more about the experience and see what channel that really came in through. Because I think that's often the hardest part, is knowing whether it's claircognizance or clairvoyance or like all of the clairs. You have to be really dialed in. And I hope that through our last few episodes, you're kind of learning how to run that dial. But when something is very interesting happens when you say a knowing out loud to someone who isn't going to argue with you about it. It's either going to settle, which can give you that feeling of truth, or it's going to shift, which means it was probably something else. Not that it was wrong, just something else. Your own voice really is a tuning fork, so you can absolutely use it for this. You can use it for so many things. Your voice is great. I want to come back to that house episode that we were just talking about, because I'm sure that there's folks who had a reaction to that. Maybe you saw yourself in that, or maybe you're skeptical that it even happened, or maybe you saw yourself in that moment and you've never known quite what to do with it. Whatever it was, I just want to say this. You are allowed to let things be true without being able to explain them. You don't have to build a theology around it. You don't have to announce it to anyone, unless that you're that verbal person. But you definitely don't have to defend it. You can just write it down and let it settle and move on with your day. Like, this doesn't become an identity. And that's what I did with the name. I mean, it felt right, and I went back to doing whatever I was doing. I never said anything. Like, I didn't purposely run to my community and say anything. I had talked about it because we talk about intuition in the community all the time. But you can just be like, oh, okay, good to know. And start learning to trust yourself. And we have been moving through the clairs for these last few episodes. The body, the voice, images, and now this. The knowing that doesn't announce itself. And maybe the point was never to necessarily separate them, although I think it's good to understand them. But maybe the point across all of it is to simply notice. Know how that information arrives for you. Because most people already have access to more than one channel. And they've been using them their entire lives without realizing it. The feeling in your body, the word that slips out, the image that flashes, the thought that keeps returning, the thing you somehow know. Maybe those moments aren't accidents, or maybe they're just worth paying a little more attention to than we have been giving them. The turn you took that one time, the name you somehow knew, the decision that you couldn't justify that turned out to be exactly right, or, the seat that you changed for my friend back there. We'll probably never fully understand it, which is okay. And whatever they were meaningful enough that you've remembered them. So write them down if you can pull them up. Maybe it's worth sitting with. Because once you start noticing how information arrives for you, a different question is usually going to follow. Not just, how do I receive this? But where is it coming from? And that's where we're going to go next time. We're going to talk about the guide conversation without making it more complicated than it needs to be. Anyway, for this episode, notice what you already know. And maybe pay attention to how you know it. I'll see you next time on More Than We See.